Welcome back, sentient beings. Today we will hear the data entry 233419 called the Humans Got FTL by Mercury the Dealer. You can find the link to the origin below, and if some of you guys don't know what FTL means, it means faster than light travel. The more you know, right? So let's begin. FTL is complicated. As it turns out, the universe does not enjoy having its laws broken. And so, empires need to get creative when making FTL. Some, like the Powiat, decided that they would use portals, create a somewhat stable-ish Tian spacetime, and you can go to whatever portal use is attuned to in basically an instant. It's the galactic equivalent of a bullet train. Efficient? Gets you everywhere quickly, but it's hella expensive. Believe it or not, building a giant portal the size of a continent isn't easy or cheap, and that doesn't take into account how breaking it destroys the entire system's connection to the rest of the empire, which is why only well protected and established systems get one. There are also people like the Daritas. Instead of creating a tier through which two or more points in spacetime touch, you can simply contract and expand space around you with hyperdrives. It sounds like the perfect solution until you realize that in order to get enough energy for the thing to work, you will need to collect and store a gigantic amount of fuel, usually in the form of hydrogen or helium. Good luck colonizing a system without at least 3 alpha class gas giants in it. And by the way, activating the drive with anything in the way will be like getting shot by a class 5 railgun. So you will be stuck at non-FTL speed while inside the system. Most empires learn to use both technologies, portals for well established and growing colonies, and hyperdrives for military vessels and other things that just don't require much permanence. Most. There's one empire, one species to be exact, that decided they were too good for any of that. Humans. Humans weren't very lucky. They were born in a small system with only 2 worthy gas giants, and even those were far from big. Normally, that would mean they will develop portal tech and adopt the hyperdrives later. But those apes were far from normal. We first met them through one of the scouting vessels. The first obvious sign that something wasn't right was its size. It was too small to be carrying a common hyperdrive. In fact, the entire thing was smaller than a common hyperdrive. So, we assumed that it must be a pre-FTL ship, send the crew into a void while in a cryostasis, and hope you find something. Except that cryostasis ships don't teleport around in their current system, do they? Well, this one was doing just that. Speculation exploded in the scientific community. The ship wasn't pre-FTL, that was for sure. And unless it could hide a continent-sized megastructure, then it wasn't portal technology. But how could something that small fuel even a basic hyperdrive? Turns out it couldn't. Apparently, when faced with the challenge of how to travel faster than light, humanity decided that portals were far way too expensive and hyperdrives too slow. So what did the apes do? They created so-called star core engines. The concept is simple. Well, at least as simple as something that bends all laws of physics to the limit can be. You simply launch a very small space anomaly which your star core engine is synced with at your target location, at whatever speed you feel like using. When the anomaly reaches the location, you activate the engines and hope to whatever you think of as holy that the instant teleportation doesn't fuse you with your nearest crew member. Simple, effective, the versatility of a hyperdrive fused with the efficiency of a portal. So we naturally ask how they made it. What they told us made the entire galaxy collectively gasp in sheer disbelief. When making these drives, there are two main problems to consider: how to fuel the engines and how to make a stable anomaly. Turns out, the humans found the answers in the exact same place, inside living stars. The sheer density and extreme conditions of the core of a star makes physics somewhat flexible, so they used that flexibility to make the anomaly generators. On the other side, stars are pretty good fuel sources, especially the cores, so if you are taking the core for the anomaly generators, might as well take some for fuel, right? And that brings us to why no one could believe the respective auditory receptors. When the humans started explaining how the drives worked, how in the name of the void are they getting their hands on the core of a star? Autonomous drones? No, the electromagnetic fields of stars will destroy any particularly sensitive circuits. That includes most components for advanced AI. Piloted drones? No. While the electromagnetic field might not destroy them, the signal delay after entering the star will be too great for the drone to be useful. Planet crackers? No. Not only are those illegal and immoral, but they also wouldn't do much on the account that stars are, believe it or not, a bit bigger than planets. Star-sized planet crackers? No, don't be absurd. Those are myths made by the humans to scare people, probably I think. Also, the objective is to mine the core, not to destroy it. So, how do they do it then? Simple. They send people. They send people. Star core samplers, men and women who risk their lives every day by entering a giant metal tube surrounded by an inconceivable amount of heat dampeners and launch themselves at the nearest stars. Most of the heat is collected by the heat portals, as they call them, essentially a thin space anomaly shaped to fit around the ship and send the heat to wherever they want it to go. If you ever saw a map of human space and wondered why the hell that one bright dot isn't marked as a star, then congratulations, you just saw one of the heat dumping grounds. Anyways, after launching into the star, the samplers just sit around waiting to get to the core and hoping that the heat dampeners don't decide to take a short break. Once they do get to the core, they release the piloted drones to collect as much of the core as possible, and then they make their way back, as if they didn't just enter the most dangerous place in the galaxy, short only perhaps to a black hole. If you ever wondered why no one dares to touch human space or challenge them, politically or otherwise, it isn't just because the drives are better than any other, or because they are the only suppliers of star core fuel in the entire galaxy. No, those things pale in comparison to the real advantage. Humans are willing to break into stars to achieve their goals. Void have mercy if they make killing you the goal. And with this concludes The Humans God FTL, written by Mercury the Dealer. If you like this story, you can go to his Reddit page and read more amazing stories of his. And as a reward for staying until the end, here's a fun fact. Spain is the only European country to have a physical border with an African country. And lastly, if you don't want to miss new narrations, then why won't you subscribe and activate the bell? That's all guys and girls, and stay healthy, bye!